Are you ready for some adventure and mystery? Well, Dungeons & Dragons, Bedlam, and Neverwinter might be perfect for your game group. This video was brought to you by Noble Knight Games. More about them at the end of the video. Bedlam and Neverwinter is an escape and solve mystery game for 2 to 6 players, and players get to essentially create their own combination of race and class at the very beginning, putting together 2 cards and telling a little bit about who they are to the group. They can pick from tiefling, elf, gnome, dragonborn, human, and dwarf, partnered with druid, cleric, fighter, paladin, barbarian, monk, ranger, rogue, bard, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard. Players are going to put one of those heart tokens on their highest hit point value, which might differ based on which race and class you picked. You'll also take one of those little figures that's going to match the color of your player card, and then you're going to find Act 1, Board 1, and place that in the center of the table. This is where players begin their adventure. Now, this game will take place over 3 different scenarios, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, and each one takes between an hour and a half to play. So this could be a one full game night of all 3 acts, or you could spread this out over a couple days. But no matter how long it takes you and your group to get through this 3-part mystery, it's worth the journey, and I won't spoil anything for you, so I'll talk in some generalities. But here's how the game is going to work. A player is going to put their figure down on a location that has a number, and they are going to look at that card. They're going to take it from the deck. It's all face down. They're going to find that number card and then read it aloud to the group. And there's going to be one of 2 types of cards. One is a narrative card, and the other is a puzzle card. Now, if it's a puzzle card, you read it, lay it down in the center of the table, and if it is a single card puzzle, you can try to solve it, but if it needs more cards, which they are all labeled, then you're going to have to wait for those cards, but you have found a piece of a puzzle, and you have a little bit of information, but not enough to solve it, and those puzzles are going to be group-based, so you want to make sure everybody can see those cards, and everybody can work together, putting their heads together to figure out the puzzle once you have the right pieces. When you're solving for a puzzle, the answer is always going to be a number, and you're going to look in that deck for the number that you think the answer is, flip it over to see if you're correct. If it's a narrative card, you're going to read the narrative, and there might be a solo check or a group check, or it might just say to read another card afterwards. Now, solo checks and group checks are really fun because they are essentially going to tell you what threshold you need to roll on a d20. And if it has a particular bonus because of a trait and you have that trait, or if it's in your group, you're going to be able to roll a d6 as a boost. So in the beginning of the game, when you're selecting your character, you might want to diversify, but you also might want to really hone your specialties so that you can roll that d6 twice if you have the same selected characteristic like charisma. The easy thing about this game is everything is right there in front of you. Nothing is confusing, everything is super straightforward, and it's easy to do solo checks or group checks. It's going to tell you what you get, or if you're hurt, if you fail it, and you just simply move through the tile, which is your Act 1, Location 1, exhausting all the particular locations, looking for puzzle pieces, and progressing the narrative. Sometimes players will be fortunate enough to gain loot cards, and they're going to keep those loot cards in front of them, but they are also able to transfer those loot cards outside of combat. When you're in combat, you're not allowed to pass those cards, but it's a nice way to say, if I drew the loot because I passed a particular check, I can still give that to somebody else if maybe they haven't drawn a loot card, or they are better suited for that particular card. There's not only going to be puzzles inside of each act, there will also be a puzzle that you have to figure out over the course of Act 1, another puzzle that spans the course of Act 2, and then there is a big meta puzzle for Act 3, in addition to generally having a big bad or a boss at the end of the act that you are trying to defeat in some way or find some information about. So there's a lot here. It's fun. while you play it. Now it's a little light on character, so to speak. It's hard to know exactly who your character is. There's not too much development aside from what you bring to it because all that's given to you is your race and your class. And you also are going to have 3 different special abilities that are specific to you that you get to activate in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And that might give you some background, but really players are going to have to bring everything if they want to have fun and tell stories that are outside of the story inside the game. So if you want to kind of improv and have a little fun and be really kind of loose and flexible with characters and, being dramatic, this is very open to that, but it doesn't necessarily provide you the opportunities to do that. You're going to have to essentially find places to do that. I will say that the components are a little thin. Essentially, they don't necessarily stay down easily. They kind of spin on tables. The quality isn't exactly what I would hope. Everything is just a little on the kind of light side of giving you things to do and to look at. So, quality of product and components, not the greatest. But I will say that the game moves along at a nice pace. And if you get to Act 3 and you are getting towards the end of Act 3, I have to say we were incredibly pleased with the way it ended. Because it seems like the game itself understands that you are trying to kind of reserve or save all of your cool stuff for the big final battle, and they don't make it easy. You can still save up everything you have, and you'll really, if the luck of the die, if it's not rolling for you and rolling for them, it can get really close. It can get really, nail biter at the end. But when you think things are over, they may not be over. Again, not going to spoil anything here, but it was really surprising and delightful. And I will say that we got to open up the secret envelope. I won't tell you why. Maybe you could guess why. But it was fun. And I think that what this offers is a nice family-friendly, very, very light on the role-playing, but more on the adventure and the mystery and the puzzles. The puzzles, I have to say, are a little bit on the easier side. There weren't any puzzles that really took us gave us a run for our money. Some of them we had to put our heads together to work a little bit harder on, but most of them were pretty straightforward, pretty easy to get. The clues were all there. And so I would say on the mystery side, the puzzle side, figuring out the escape room aspect of it, a little bit on the easier side, but still fun. And then the overarching Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, pretty straightforward. The mystery's there, but if you get the cards along the way, it's pretty obvious what the answer is. And so fun, interesting, totally worth the 3 acts that we spent, essentially the 3 sessions of 90 minutes that we spent, and it was just the 2 of us. I imagine it would be just as fun with 3, 4, 5, 6 full table, because you are essentially going to have a scaled difficulty for successes and challenges based on the amount of players that you have. So it scales just fine for more players as it does for fewer players. We are going to be giving away this game to our friends. They've got 2 kids. They are, middle school and high school, and I think they'll hopefully still be able to have a lot of fun with mom and dad with this. So I think they're going to have a great time as a 4-player game. So this is going to be re-gifted. We repackaged everything. Nothing is chewed up or torn or marred or ruined in this, which is a nice way to make an escape room that is shareable. So that's going to be it for me, everybody. I'll see you later. Bye. Noble Knight Games has been serving the needs of thousands of gamers worldwide for over 25 years. They specialize in both new and out-of-print RPGs, board games, war games, collectible card games, miniatures, and all things game-related. I've had a great experience selling games to Noble Knight over the past year with clean and easy pricing along with store credit or cash offered for both used and new games. They are my one-stop shop for all things gaming.